we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 94 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked, if not very slow, threat to society. So yeah, it has been a little while, man, and I'll tell you, I was just meant to get something down. I was just not feeling it the last week or so, dude. And there's so much weird shit happening, and I'm like, dude, I should get some ideas on this, man, and look at what's going on. But it's like there's so much, it just weighs on you. I feel like I'm like that guy in the meme, like that little boxing guy sitting in the corner of like, hey, let me give a couple takes on some of the weird goings on, and then like, god damn, there's a lot of them, man. And it is weird, dude. So, I mean, what all, man? I figured today we would talk about some of the domestic stuff leading up to the election, and, good thing that I waited a couple days, because I would have missed the Gorilla Harris Fox News meltdown, which from the clips I saw was pretty fucking funny, man. Like this broad, dude. I mean, it's almost like you're really trying to lose this thing. Like you're really not even putting forth an effort. Like you wheeled this woman out there knowing that she was going to shit the bed. Or maybe, I don't know. I'll get to that. But then a couple other things going on with the Israel tip. And as always, like the Russia thing is just, I won't say it's stalled, but it's just become kind of de rigueur that they're just flattening these Ukrainians, and these Ukrainians not to be deterred, recruiting and pitching that, oh no, we can still win this some kind of how, some kind of way. And they're not letting up. The guy's going around the world in his t-shirt, begging for money, begging for arms, this kind of thing. But again, we'll get to that. But in the immediate, man, it's usually my thing. Like I had a weird deal happen where, like my work, like I obviously I don't, docs, I don't put a lot of stuff out there just because I am kind of private about a lot of this. And, in fairness too, I see that there's a lot of dudes are just going like straight mask off, like say what you want. There's these couple of dudes on a podcast. It's like, I want to say it's like a smaller production like me, putting out a podcast to like 10 people. But there's these dudes, these two former, I want to say Marines, and they put out this deal called the Berm Pit. Like I don't get the gag there. Maybe if I looked at the website or looked into it or paid attention for more than 10 minutes, I could, figure out what they mean exactly. But they call it the Berm Pit, and I don't know how that's like. It sounds a lot like Burn Pit, but it's not Burn Pit. It's Berm Pit. So anyway, I listen to that, and these guys are like, they do like a video thing. They do like just some straight commentary, but they're like right there, like 6 million, and I don't know. I guess in a way, it's like, what are you going to do to these guys? If they've got their, whatever, retirement or disability or whatever they got. So what are you going to do to them? Like make a mean face, but they haven't been deplatformed off of Spotify yet. And I don't know. I think what are they using? Like they're using some platform called like Spreely, which is like speak freely type thing. I don't know. And I guess I could stand to look into something like that. And then I don't have to mince words, right? Well, so I got to listen to these guys, and they were, they just go straight, they just call it like they see it, which is cool. So I don't know. I might look into that a little bit on the tech retarded side. I'll tell you something else, though, I do like that just reminded me of, is that I do find it amusing that it's become more and more acceptable to refer to people as retarded. And, to tell it straight is like, you call somebody retarded. If I say people are retarded all the time, But when I'm saying that, I'm not making fun of retarded people. Like, retarded people just are how they are. They might not know you were making fun of them anyways. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't give a shit. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not making fun of retarded people. I'm making fun of you, right? Because retarded people, at least, whatever, people with Down syndrome, people with some kind of an organic disadvantage, right? They've got something working against them. You know who they are. It's not hard to pick out. But these people, they got no say in this, right? This was not a conscious decision. I'm not going to pick on them over that shit. What I am doing, though, is like we've talked about before, like I'm kind of giving you an out, like, is this just something that you couldn't help, the stupid shit that you're doing? Is this beyond your control? Or, because I'd hate to think that what you were doing on purpose. So like this thing with Trump referring to Gorilla Harris as retarded. It's mighty patronizing of him, mighty white of him. It's a decent thing to say. If people want to get their feelings hurt over that, I don't know what the fuck to tell you, man. But anyway, I digress. So I got this gig, right? I have my own business, and traditionally, business always slows down towards the end of the year, man. Like, people are hunkering down. It's going to be holiday time soon, arguing with relatives at Thanksgiving time soon, all this kind of thing. So things are kind of slow. People don't want to line things up. Not too much is scheduled. And I always start like sweating the load because, when start your own business, they said. It'll be great, they said, right? And the thing is, man, like with your own business, how people talk about, if you start your own business, you got a huge chance of this failing because so many small businesses fail. I'll tell you why they fail, man, is because people kind of get it in their head that like they're getting over if they don't have anything to do. Like, I just sat on the couch all day and nobody said shit to me. Like, yeah, dude, nobody said shit because you're not getting paid, because you're not picking up the phone. You're not doing anything. You're not generating work. So, yeah, haha, you got over, but you also don't make any fucking money. So there's that pain in the ass, but then there's the other pain in the ass of like anytime somebody like prospective client, possible client, existing client calls and is like, hey, I need this shit. Dude, I've gotten out of bed to like, yeah, let me see if I can help you with that right this second. Let me stop what I'm doing. 'Cause I was going to get up anyway. I hate sleeping. So I'm going to just get out of bed right now at 11 o'clock at night and help you out with your little mystery issue. And it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Like, it's very time intensive, but at least it doesn't pay much. Anyway, so I was at this dinner party thing. And I'm hanging out with a couple of dudes. One, unlike, it's bizarre, dude, how I end up in some of these circles because, as you can probably tell, I'm not what you'd call refined, right? Like, nobody's inviting me to the supper club or whatever. Like, I ain't going to the opera, looking at people howling through tiny glasses or whatever. But I go to this dinner party thing, and I'm hanging out with a doctor and then some government contract dude that I don't know, like, it's crazy, dude, the kind of how it shakes out. Because like people, you'd be like, yeah, this guy, he's not making any money. He's kind of, you meet somebody that's like beta-ish and just kind of laid back and like, bloop, bloop. You're like, okay, well, that guy's not, he's not bringing in the bread. Au contraire, like these are the cats that are working from home and just gutting the system, man, just like making more money, like they got a license to print it. So I'm hanging out with these characters and I'm bitching, as you do, about, my lot in life or whatever. And oh, dude, these dudes actually had the stones to ask me about, man, what do you make of this Israel situation? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. So we talked about, the USS Liberty. We talked about the King David Hotel bombing. We talked about all this stuff. And it was enlightening for some of them because even, in our circles, it's like, you hear about this constantly. Like, you wheel this out like it's a frozen chunk of a conversation, like here, bleh, and you just spill the thing on the Liberty, you spill the thing on the King David Hotel, you spill the thing on the Balfour Declaration. And that's no big deal. That's very normal to us. To these cats, like, they've never even heard of it. No idea what I'm talking about. And it's like, what? Are you serious? And like, they give you that look like, is this like something crazy, like lizard people or flat earth? And like, no, dude, this is the genuine article. Look into it yourself. Look it up yourself. And sure enough, you're like, wow, that's really something. I didn't know that. And like, yeah, there you go. I'm here to help you. But I'm bitching to this guy anyway, again, like back to live action, back to the story. And he's like, what would you say, if you could do a lot of the same work, like if you were at the house and you were making, say, 160, 180, would you want to have an interview on that? I'm like, fuck yeah. Yeah, that makes my life infinitely easier. If I know what I got to do, or even better, I'm working for somebody else where I can kind of weasel dick out of it. And now when I am sitting on the couch and nobody's asking me for anything, I can like rub my hands and like, hey, I don't got to do shit. Right? Like I'm the guy walking around with a clipboard. Like nobody wants anything from me. I'm getting over. I'll just, go get a workout or hang out or whatever and say I was thinking. Or, if you're going to pay me to think, dude, I can do this all day. But I say, yeah, man, I'm into that. So this was like a Saturday, which, okay, dude. And people start boozing and they'll say shit, right? Like, let's fucking drive to Florida. Come on, man, my treat. And like, yeah, okay. But true to his word, I get CC'd on Monday. This guy straight away sends out an email to these different people at this government contracting organization. And it's, obviously, I'm not going to say which one. It's a big one. Like you would recognize this immediately. I'm like, sweet. So I'm sitting, I'm waiting, and a few minutes later, I get an email back, like this little introduction email. Hey, how you doing? Good to meet you. I'm so-and-so, and we're working this project, and we do this, this, and this. And I understand you bring this, this, and that to the table. What do you think about a phone call? I say, yeah, man, I'm good for a phone call. So we schedule a phone call a few days later. So now here's where it starts to slide down the slope, right? And a few days later, we got this Zoom call scheduled, and I get on the Zoom call, and there's one person on there. So like first I can't get on. Something's fucked up with I don't know what's going on, because I use that shit constantly, like these stupid video call platforms, like all of them. And it's idiotic because I loathe them, man. I'd rather just fly there and see somebody in person, or let's just talk on the phone, because these video call things are like, it's glitchy, it's clunky, it doesn't sound good, it's a pain in the ass. Half the time you can't get on, or it kicks you off. And so I get on there, it's not letting me get on. I'm emailing, hey dude, I'm having an issue getting on here, give me a second. So I end up having to just dial in. I dial in, and there's one other guy in the call, one dude in the call. And I'm like, all right, sorry, I'm like, 30 seconds late. Are we waiting on anybody else? And he's like, no, it's just going to be me. Everybody else had some stuff to do. So I talked to this guy a while. But again, he's like, all right, man, yeah, I like what you're bringing to the table. I like what I see in your resume. I'm going to get some other people scheduled, and we'll set up another call. How's next Thursday for you? And I was like, yeah, totally, man. Next Thursday. That sounds good. Okay, so good talking to you. I'll talk to you later. I hang up with this guy, and then I email back to like the administrative people that put this call together. Like, hey, yeah, we had a good call. I guess we're talking next Thursday. So I just wanted to touch base with you all, and whoever's lining up this thing or whatever, and say thanks for your time and whatever. And okay, and then that's it. And then a few days go by, and I don't hear anything. And then another few days go by, and I'm like, motherfucker. So I send another email and like, hey, yeah, so are we still talking Thursday, or is another time better? And then I'm waiting, and I'm sitting, and I don't hear shit. So I'm like, fuck, dude. So like long and short, I have like a little interaction with this high dollar situation, and then like boom, like crickets, like stonewall, nothing, like got me on the pay no mind list. And man, I go back through the list of everybody that's on the CC'd on these emails, man. And as I'm looking through the thing, and it's got little titles and shit, you click on them in this, and you hunt these people down. And what I'm seeing, dude, is that like this thing is run pretty much top to bottom by Indians, and this is not my first go around seeing this. Because with my business, like pretty much any business, I think I had mentioned this before, pretty much any business, you can get government contracts, and government contracts pay good if you can get them. All right. So you look at, there's different websites you can go on, and you look at like the government wants this, they want that. And, it ain't always like we want you to build a fucking rocket. It could be like we want you to mow lawns at this, whatever, outside the IRS. Somebody's got to mow the lawn out there, right? Somebody's got to paint the bricks. Somebody's got to go, touch up the brick wall where they line up people who, fall 10 minutes behind on getting them their taxes. So there's government contracts out there. But once you get into the weeds on this, and if you're like a disabled veteran-owned small business, or you're any kind of business, like the ass pain of trying to get into this system. Not just trying to make $1.01, but like actually trying to get into this system. Like they want this thing, they want that thing, they want this document, that document, provide us this, that, and the other thing. So finally, like my business, we get situated where I'm like, okay, I got disabled veteran-owned thing. I got all these checks in the boxes and like, okay, man, I can apply for government contracts now. But as soon as you start looking, what you start noticing is that these things are fucking set up where like the guy that's going to pick whoever is going to mow the lawn outside the IRS, they must have lawnmower, must be able to walk, more than a mile at a time, when you're mowing this lawn, and must drive a 72 Impala. And you're like, what the fuck? There'll be like some little wazoo qualification thing. Like must have attended Excel workshop, this series, that series. Like something that nobody has. And then when you look into it, if you call these places, you're like, hey, I need to see about getting qualled through your program. And they're like, really? You're like, yeah, I guess. And it's always like something rinky-dink. But it'll be a real pain in the ass to get. So I looked at a few of these where you're like, yeah, I'm going to try to get this contract, that contract. And then, oh, yeah, well, you got to have this. Okay, I have that. Okay, but also this. I'm like, where the fuck do you even get that? What is that? And the reason that's there is because they've got somebody in mind already that they're going to award this contract to. Like, I'm going to set this lawn mowing contract up for my friend who just bought a lawnmower. And then a lot of times the way it'll work is like, and I don't have the documents, I don't have the receipts, as the discount code conservatives like to say. But I mean, you only have to be around the government a little while to see how this shit works. And I'll continue to explain what I mean here. So what happens then is somebody will have a stranglehold on this contract, and they'll be the ones saying like, yeah, you got to have your lawnmower, you got to have walking shoes, you got to have this, that. Oh, but you got to also have this leadership course or some kind of shit. So what ends up happening then is that they're giving these gigs to their friends, and you just kind of get left standing there. So when you look a little closer now, and when you see this kind of thing, because some things obviously, like you got a rocket scientist or some kind of a thing, like this is not going to be, you can only weasel dick that so far. But a lot of these gigs, man, they get sucked up by these large companies, and then they kind of subcontract them, right? And you see this a lot, like it is rife with these Indians, man, like dot not feather Indians. Like it's not, Pocahontas out here like giving out contracts and stuff. But these Indians, dude, they are like neck deep in government contracts. So these are things that are like, again, like the lawn cutting thing or something. Like it's not something that they could ever even do. Like that guy can't cut a fucking lawn. But they somehow will get in there, they'll win the fucking contract, and then they start shopping for like, all right, dude, who can I get to cut this lawn? So they're going to get whatever, they're going to get $75,000 a year to cut all the lawns, around the IRS, right? So they get this contract lined up, but now they start looking like, well, who can I get to do this? And now they come to like, me, I don't cut lawns, but you get the idea. They come to like me and like, hey man, you could cut lawns, right? I say, yeah. You want to cut these lawns for like $50,000 a year? You're like, what else are you going to do, man? You can't win none of these contracts yourself. So if you don't have anything else going, you got to be like, yeah, dude, I'll cut lawns for fucking $50,000 a year. It's not the $75,000. I mean, you could have very well bid on this exact same contract, but you ain't getting that contract. That Indian dude is getting that contract. Because, like half the time, too, it's like an Indian giving out the project. He's going to give it to some Indian that's got a company, and then that Indian's going to come to you and be like, hey, stupid, why don't you come and bring your lawn cutting equipment and you can cut the grass around the IRS. How does that sound to you? Do you want this one or do you want no job at all? Is that what you want? You want to not work? Because you cannot work if you want. Otherwise, you can do this fucking job and take the money that I'm going to give you. All right, so that's where you come out. So I look at this thing, man, and it's like, yeah, dude, Indian. And it's like these fucked up names that are like, you can't tell, are these people, is this a dude or a chick, or I don't fucking know, because, they're not really fucking American. And again, let's not waste our time differentiating between U.S. passport holder and American, but I digress. So yeah, it's been kind of a pisser of a week in that regard. Other than that, though, man, looking at, I guess we could look real quick at the international scene, because there's been a few interesting things happening, but, nothing that really changes anything. Like the Russia thing, those dudes are actually, looks like, picking up speed. So like what I was talking about before, that maybe they were kind of slow playing it a little bit, letting everybody get a turn driving the train. Really just slugging it out and sending some of their lower speed troops out there to fight while the U.S. bleeds itself and the rest of the West dry on, sending these idiots pretty much everything we have. That appears to have been the case. And they got that Victor Boot guy out of the tank in exchange for a transsexual basketball player. What a catch. What a trade, man. I mean, I would actually favor more like releasing anybody they want in exchange for them keeping the tranny basketball player. I don't have any use for that kind of a thing. What the fuck is more useless than a tranny basketball player? Is there anything? Like, this is, I mean, good God almighty, dude. All those people talking about, and, and me too, to a degree, that like the COVID thing, like this was a culling process. Dude, in that sense, I will say it was a tragic failure. We got enough people at this fucking party, man. You guys could have done way better. It's like you didn't even try. And now we got, you hear about it, within 5 years, people are going to be dying off. Dude, I'm fucking waiting. All these, whatever, A-list celebrities, showing you their fucking Band-Aid. Who's a Taylor Swift's man friend or male friend or whatever you want to call it, like fuck around companion with that fancy Dan mustache, showing you that fucking Band-Aid and giving you that, what you gotta do, bro, stupid fucking head nod. Oh, man. Like, decent people get hurt every day, man. Why not this guy? I don't know. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about, dude? I don't even know anymore. Oh, yeah, So Russia, man, yeah, they get the Victor Boot out of jail, looking to line up some sweet arms deals with some of his previous associates. I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back for saying I saw a little bit of that. If it does actually work out that way, then cool. If it doesn't, well, it was at least something that came up, and it's not a bad idea, so I like it. But in terms of just straightening this thing out, man, like Ukraine is pretty much done, but that hasn't stopped the Zelensky from, again, going town to town, cap in hand, rubbing his hands, talking about, oh, God, oppressed. And I guess at some point, and I don't know what the governing body was, but whoever it is, people that have been funding this dunce cap, throwing money into this bullshit, came to the guy and said, dude, we need to see an actual plan. So this dude came out with what he called a plan and presented this bunny ears plan, and the feedback on it was, from all the decision makers, U.S., France, Germany, the whole thing, UK, was that this is not a plan, dude. This is a wish list. And his wish list was basically, give me a bunch of missiles, like give me a shit ton of missiles, and give me permission to launch them straight into Moscow, and then put a bunch of troops on the ground over here, and dude, I bet I could win. I could win, right? Like, I could win. Like, what could be more chutzpah than this shit? Like, give me all your troops and all your missiles. Never mind, like, the 200 billion that we've pumped into this moron already. And, in fairness, let's not bullshit each other. Like, these people in D.C. and Paris and Berlin and this, like, these people knew what was going on going in. Like, this shit is circling right back to their own pocket. Anybody knows this, man. A blind man's dog could look at this and say, like, I see what the fuck is happening here. But it does look like that guy is on borrowed time, man. And it's winter coming soon. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know, like, traditionally the idea is, like, the Russian tip. It's like you don't fight in the fucking winter. It's too cold for that. I don't know, dude. I don't know that it's still like that. It could either pause a little bit or it could pick up speed, because I guess there's been some strikes against Ukrainian energy infrastructure, which means they're going to get real fucking cold real fucking fast. So that would be like a compounding factor where for you idiots who are going to have to just set things on fire to stay warm, right? For you, the traditional rules apply, and you're going to want to not have to fight during the winter because this is going to really, really suck. For Russia that has a heater to get next to, right? Like, we have power, we're having power, I don't know what your fucking problem is. These guys aren't going to have it so bad, so they could probably still keep rolling. I know, like, autumn is a problem because shit gets muddy, it's nasty, you don't want to, you can't drive through that half the time, you sure as shit can't do it during the autumn. But once it fucking freezes, and this was something I had heard talked about vis-a-vis North Korea. I think I say that too much, man. Vis-a-vis, maybe, in regards to, we'll just say that, okay? But in any case, I had actually heard that about North Korea at one point, that this was a planning consideration wherein you're talking about, dude, if we're going to ever have to get it on with like North Korea, or if we're going to have to get it on with, again, like Iran, this was a planning consideration that, you got to plan around, like, is it cold? Like, is it cold enough for the ground to freeze and now the tanks can roll across it? Or is it so fucking cold that, like, shit freezes up, shit doesn't work properly, people are freezing to fucking death? These are all things that you got to plan around. So if you have, some modern convenience, you have a fucking heater, you have an engine that works, this can help you in that regard. If you don't have shit and you're on your ass and you don't know what you're doing anyways, right? Like, even if you have all this stuff, you're surrounded by all the technology you can handle, and then it's like, yeah, but I've been here like a week, dude. I don't know how any of this shit works. And that's where a lot of these Ukrainians are, I think, is that, like, yeah, dude, I got thrown into a fucking van 2 weeks ago. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That could be a problem. So I think, dude, probably by late spring, for sure, like, this thing is going to be wrapped up. I just don't see a way where, now that I think the U.S. is committing heavily to Israel, they can be the ones that suck up all the Western resources, and Russia doesn't really have much else to gain, especially now that they're talking about, like, oh, maybe we give them missiles, maybe we give them permission to use this or that. Let's just get this fucking thing over with. I think that might be where we're at on that. But looking over at the Israel thing, dude, the idiocy just continues, dude. And I saw a tweet from U.S. CENTCOM, Central Command, right? And it's this fucking, like, this church-looking image with, like, like the Bible type thing opened up. And I'm sure it's not the fucking Bible. It's like the Talmud is open to the pages where I swing the chicken. They're going to forgive me for burning up a fucking hospital, for God's sake. But they've got this thing, this book open, and then it's got like this ram's horn and whatever the fuck you're going to do with that. Probably some kind of weird Jewish ritual of, like, I know they have the thing where, like blow the ram's horn and, oh, call your men to action, like, don your diapers and take the field. We're going to fight for the glory of fucking Israel, right? Glory of your nose. And, so they got this out there, like this little Star of David in the background. And I'm like, what the fuck is this, dude? I mean, you look at these people are legit fucking war criminals. Like, and again, dude, I got to say it every time. Like, I didn't leave my fucking wallet in Beirut, man. I don't have any connection to any of those people. They're not my people. But again, I would say that it's like, it's bad fucking form, dude. To blow up hospitals, to blow up non-combatants, to have video getting out of people in hospitals literally burning alive. Like, burning people alive in fucking hospitals. That doesn't make for good press. It never fucking does. And what it does do is recruit for the opposition. Like, it actively recruits people where people would have been like, I don't really give a fuck. I don't have a horse in this race. This is the kind of thing that makes people say, like, all right, dude, hold the fuck on here. Like, this is pretty fucked up. What are you fucking doing over here? But even so, like, what's the U.S. government doing, man? Like, no, these are our allies, bro. And I mean, if there's no other way to say, like, blink twice, if you're being controlled, blink twice if there's a gun at your head. Dude, the government should be blinking their asses off right now. I mean, these people are owned by the nuts, man. Like, how the fuck can you look at this and not just not just turn a blind eye to it, but actively fund it, like send my fucking tax dollars? How do you come out with even, any kind of public statement that's like, let's go to war for fucking what? For the only democracy in the region. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, that ship has fucking sailed, dude. Like, we're not even the fucking democracy in this region. Like, there's no fucking democracy, my fucking democracy. What the fuck is democracy? Like, we're going to give you these two idiots to pick from, right? So how that ends up, man, I don't even know, dude. There has been a bunch of talk. There's been a lot of back and forth. Okay, so how about this? There's been a lot of back and forth between Israel and the U.S., I know. And they say Netanyahu and Biden. I don't believe Biden has a fucking horse in this race because I know that dude doesn't know what room he's in. So this guy is not making any of these calls, dude. But whoever it is, whoever the presumptive voice of reason might be in the room that's talking to this Netanyahu saying, hey, look, shithead, you're doing this with our fucking weapons. You're doing this shit with our money. You're pissing people off. The people here are tired of it, dude. They don't like that shit. Americans don't like seeing hospitals get set on fire, dude. You call me fucking crazy, but they don't like that shit. And Netanyahu's response so far has been like, why don't you go fuck yourself? I'll do whatever I want. So talking about like, what are you doing in fucking Lebanon? What are you talking shit about fucking Iran over here? The U.S. did put it to them, I guess, via Anthony Blinken, who, I'm sure what kind of a stern talking to did he give? Probably not too much. Like, he probably let it float pretty casual. Like, if it's not too much trouble. But apparently did say, like, you need to fix some of the, what do they call, like, the civil rights issues, the human rights issues going on in Lebanon, through your carpet bombing campaign. You need to stop that shit. You need to sort that out. And we're going to give you only 30 days to do it. So basically, you could still fuck everybody up for the next 29 days. But if on day 30 you said, you know what, we're going to make a concerted effort to stop bombing non-combatants, then that's going to be good to go as far as Washington, D.C. is concerned. So again, blink twice if there's a gun to your head, right? But looking at this Iran thing, another part of the issue has been, hey, it would be a very bad look if you were to attack nuclear or civilian infrastructure in Iran, because Israel is still talking about, like, we're going to strike back. We reserve the right to strike back. And they're angry at the fucking UN for not roundly condemning Iran's really pretty reserved strike a few weeks back. So if you don't remember, whatever, Iran launched like 180 missiles at Israel. They gave, I think it was like 12 hours warning via, whatever the fuck the channels are through, like, I think it's through Qatar and then to the US and then to Israel. So the warning got put out, like, look, we're going to be striking military targets. This is your heads up. Gave them the courtesy of, like, this is happening. I guess there was no Israeli casualties or no Israeli deaths connected to that. And there are, however, there's some confusion as far as, like, what actually got damaged, how much damage was there, whether or not the F-35s, like their newest generation fighter jets, got damaged. Nobody knows that for sure. Israel's not saying. There's some speculation that there was some damage. How many? It's hard to say, because the airstrip where they were parked, possibly in hardened shelters, possibly in underground type bunkers, which seems expensive, yeah, but I mean, when it's the U.S. and the rest of the world paying that good hollow hoax bribe money, you can kind of afford to build elevators that lower your brand new fighter jets in and out of deep holes in the ground, right? So they got that going for them, which is nice. But they obscured the satellite imagery somehow or some kind of way so that you can't really see what kind of damage is done, which it could go either way. Like, we don't want them to know that nothing happened. We don't want them to know that the place got really fucked up. We just don't want them to know whether or not it was effective. That's not a bad strategy. That's very effective strategy. If you have that ability, it's always best to roll that way. What we have seen, however, was that a whole bunch of THAAD missile systems have been shipped over to Israel since then. So what that suggests is that the Iron Dome wasn't especially iron doming as well as it should have. So they've got these THAAD missile systems now. So as I understand it, there is not a whole lot of these things in existence, and it takes a very long time to get them produced. And I don't know what all they entail. I just know they're some kind of surface-to-air missile system, and they're very expensive. They're very fucking expensive. So, so of course, we're going to give them to fucking Israel so that they can piss them away, hopefully just get them blown up. But how it plays out, dude, that is a tough call. What I will suggest is that this kind of back and forth thing of like, oh, we're not going to hit nuclear and civilian energy infrastructure in Iran. Oh, actually, we'll do whatever we want. Oh, maybe we will hit that stuff. Okay, maybe we won't. Okay, whatever. All that says to me is that they probably will. And in the end, it'll be like, well, no, we told you we were going to. Even though there was a lot of back and forth, this is how these people just seem to roll. They maintain that state of chaos, and then they do whatever they want, and then they tell you it's always been like that. That's just like the Hebrew way of doing business. So for my money, that's the direction I think they will go if they are afforded the chance. What I don't know if they're being terribly careful about is the idea that Iran might strike first. Because if you remember the last time, once Israel pushed into Lebanon, that's when they started talking shit on Iran. They're like, hey, guess what? We're going to do Iran next. And Iran was like, you watch your fucking mouth. Here's 180 missiles right up your ass. And, and then the wringing of the hands. Oh, God, they strike us for no reason. What have I done, Goy? And, here we are today. So who's to say? As far as Iran, though, they have had their first diplomatic visit to Egypt, and I think it's like 12 years, something like that. And I don't remember the guy's name, but a guy went to Egypt, shook hands, talked it up. And I guess the king of Jordan was there too, which is like bringing somebody's half-wit little brother to the table. Like, come on, dipshit, you can come too. Because, Jordan is like bitch central, dude. Like, these guys don't do shit. They don't provide shit. They're just kind of over there. I think they're just happy to take that good American aid money and say like, oh yeah, no, Israel, like whatever, dude. We just try to stay. We don't want any trouble, bro. We're like independent, like do whatever you want. Just keep giving us money, right? But one potentially complicating factor in this whole thing is that there's going to be about 100 U.S. service personnel in Israel to, I don't know what, service, maintain, and or operate these THAAD missile systems. So you're already thinking what I think everybody already knows, but it'll probably go this way anyway. That at some point, because what's the first thing that Israel is going to think? Boy, it sure would be a stroke of luck if Iran was stupid enough to kill some of these Americans. Boy, how fortunate would that be? Okay, do you think they're going to wait around for that to happen? No, man. They're going to do something. They're going to fuck around. And if they can't get Iran to strike in a way that will injure or kill some or all of these Americans, then I think that they'll probably just do it themselves. And it'll be some kind of loop-the-loop, it was, just like we smuggled in explosives to kill military leaders in Tehran. This is what happened over here to your soldiers. Oh my God, are you going to go to war now? Now can we go to war? Either way, I am inclined to think that sometime between the election and the new year that this shit will kick off good and proper. Because I think at that point, either way, I think the smart money might be that they're waiting for what may very well be civil unrest here following the election. And that would sort of go hand in hand with a lot of these persons of interest, shifting back to the domestic side, where Customs and Border Patrol are talking about like unprecedented numbers of, how can you say, like persons of interest coming across the border illegally. So they got like fuck tons of illegals, right? And you got like a Mexican in a dirty flannel shirt and a cowboy hat. Like you pretty much know why this guy's here. This guy's here to build you a fucking porch and send dollars American back to mama in, Juarez or whatever the fuck. That guy's not really here to blow anything up. But when they're catching like Iranians, they're catching Chinese, they're catching this kind of shit coming across the border in unprecedented numbers, what that suggests to me is if they can be here and cause enough unrest where Americans are going fucking batshit, fighting each other, marching in the streets, this kind of thing, then it becomes very hard for anybody to give a fuck about what goes on in other places, whether that's China moving on Taiwan, which at this point still seems pretty unlikely, or if that becomes a situation with Russia, or most likely a launch against Iran. Because if Iran can destabilize here, then Iran could say, well, hey, guess what? We're going to do this now. And you don't have anybody signing up for the fucking military. You got 2 carrier groups over there, and that's a lot. But given that Russia is over there and kind of had it up to here with American bullshit, and Iran has had it, and the Houthis are right there ready to shoot anybody, like doing a drive-by, right? They just hang out on the corner and shoot at whoever drives by. Still pretty money, dude. Still pretty money, punching above their weight. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty cool. With all those factors on the table, if there's like an organized effort to like, yeah, we're going to, if like, imagine it this way, like some Chinese and or some Iranians are like, we're just going to go shoot up polling stations. Like election day, like we're going to drive by, boom, 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 going to shoot up polling stations. What then, dude? Like if they did enough of them in, like what, key states, battleground states, Pennsylvania, Michigan would be easy. A lot of Arab communities there to hide amongst probably. It wouldn't be hard to have a cell stood up where like, yeah, you don't have to support it, but you're not going to say anything about it because these are your people, right? That would be pretty fucking easy, man. Shoot up a bunch of polling stations. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying it's cool. I'm just saying it's something that your China or your Iran could do. This would cause massive fucking unrest stateside. People would be in the streets because no doubt this would be like a Kamala saying, okay, well, if Joe's going to have to step down, then I just naturally step in. So we're just going to pause this whole election thing. Maybe we try it again next year, same time. Okay. So I'll just handle it from here. A whole bunch of people are not going to be cool with that. And then here we go. Now we're fighting here instead of talking about somewhere else. At that point, I think like in Iran or Russia or who fucking ever, people can start doing what they want. And in a lot of ways, I think that just the U.S. having the stranglehold on the world that it has had for so long has created this kind of situation where like now this is your fucking responsibility. Like you fucked this up so bad that there's a whole lot of people that fucking hate each other. And now it's your fucking fault that nothing is the way it should be. Like all these people out there are in charge that people hate. There's countries like Israel that are strong when they should not be, and all because of what happens here in the U.S. All because somebody couldn't keep their dick in their pants at a party or did more coke than they should have or what the fuck ever. Whatever these fucking people get up to. You know what I mean? So shifting back closer to... back to the pad, as it were. There's the madness with the what do you call it? The election has it's picked up speed and intensified and become honestly increasingly stupider as days have gone on. Some of the most flavorful stuff, I think, was a couple days ago. I saw a tweet, and okay, so let me preface this. Like, this could be absolute bullshit. It could be total bullshit. It could be a total distraction. I do not know. If it has anything even loosely resembling legs, I'll be stoked to see it. But so far, I haven't seen anything else on this. But what I'm talking about is a tweet that came out. Well, there was a series of tweets that came out, and it was directed at this Tim Walz motherfucker, this silly motherfucker from Minnesota. And it's talking about... it was presumably by some dude who, okay, let me give the background here. So this Tim Walz, before he was the governor of New Somalia, right? Before he was running the shit show up there, this guy was a school teacher. And I guess this was, I don't know when the fuck this was. I want to say like the 90s, something like that. And this guy helped stand up the Bunny Ears Gay Straight Alliance. So basically a gay club at school. So basically, you set up a club for school kids to come in and voice their sexual proclivities, right? Okay, so already we're off to a bad start. So you're not allowed to have porn club. You're not allowed to have, when I grow up, I'm going to bang Thai hookers club. You're not allowed to have, I prefer blowjobs club, but you are allowed to have gay club. Okay, right? So to me, already it's pretty fucking unsavory. So now you got your Tim Walz, and he's running this shit show. But now at some point, apparently this is, as I understand, factual, that he did take a lot of these kids from this gay club to numerous Indigo Girls concerts. So I don't really know so much from Indigo Girls. I don't know that I could, identify one of their songs if I was to hear it. But it all sounds very, very gay to me. So exactly what is your hang up here, guy? Like, I just care about these kids so much. I thought that I would enjoy taking time out of my day to buy tickets and take kids to a fucking concert. This already to me seems very fucking suspect. All right, but I digress. So back to live action. So this tweet comes out, and it's talking about, it's some guy saying like, okay, Timmy, touchdown Timmy, you want to tell him or you want me to tell him? You want me to talk about going to the Indigo Girls concert? You want me to talk about what happened after? And apparently there's some reporter dude, and I don't remember the dude's name, but some reporter dude, some guy had hit him up saying that like, yeah, I was a student. I don't know exactly how he got in contact with this dude, but one way or another, I don't know if he was in this gay club or whatever, but ended up going to this Indigo concert with Tim Walz. And this guy's story in the tweet, this guy's account, is that he went to this concert, they dropped people off or whatever, so now it's just him and this dude. And apparently this guy's wife, this Tim Walz guy, his wife is keen to all this shit. That this Tim Walz blew this kid and told him, it's like, yeah, you're gay. See, this is how you can tell. You know that you're gay. And it's cool. This is like a totally normal thing, right? Again, this is this guy's fucking story. I don't know that any of this shit is true. But this guy's story, again, is that this went down, and then they had met up several times after that. And on one occasion, there was some kind of an argument, some kind of a thing, and this was the time that Tim Walz drove away and he was shithoused, and this was the time that he got this DUI. So the guy provides a copy, the person tweeting this provided, I guess, a copy of the minutes of the meeting where Tim Walz is permitted to resign from whatever his position was at this school. I didn't see if it was like middle of the school year or if it was like at the end of the school year. I don't know that makes too awful much difference. But it was, I don't know. It does lend a modicum of credibility to the idea that like, yeah, something fucked up went on. It could also be that like the guy got a DUI and decided to resign instead of being fired. I don't honestly know that just getting a DUI would be like, yeah, you can't be a teacher no more. Like, dude, if you know how to teach fucking math or you know how to teach whatever the fuck, man, auto shop, I don't give a shit. You get a DUI, man. People get DUIs. I don't want no DUI. I never got a DUI. There's probably a couple times I should have got a DUI. Again, a very fucking bad idea, especially now when there's fucking Uber, right? But I don't know if people, do people actually get fired? I know people bitch it like you get fired for having fucking OnlyFans or something, right? Oh, how can you? That's legal work, bro. It's not, it's a bad influence. So I don't know. I could see either side of that. He only got fired for a DUI, or no, it wasn't a DUI. Nobody gets fired for that. This guy got fired for blowing students. I don't know. It's a tough sell. I'll tell you this. If it was a place where the guy would have gotten fired for having a DUI, I will suggest as well that he would have gotten reported to the cops for blowing a student if those people knew about it. If it was a place where they didn't give a shit if he had a DUI, I would also say that they would probably let the guy just retire if there was some suspicion about how he behaved around students. Maybe he was blowing us, maybe he has some kind of a thing, I don't know, but you got to go. I could see that as a possibility if this was a kind of place where they're like, yeah, DUI, I don't give a shit, Maybe it's loosey-goosey like this. I don't fucking know. What I will say for sure is that, like, if you got nothing else, dude, this is pretty fucking flimsy, dude. You could almost say that this is like Tim Walz reporting on himself just to say, like, see, if they tried to come up with something and this is bullshit. All I could say is it is out there. Something is out there. I don't know if anything will come of it. I don't know if anybody will say anything else about it. I know it's pretty fucking weird to bring it up and then not, like, finish the fucking story, dude. Like, show your face, or and I don't know. I guess I could see, like, if you were a kid and you got trick fucked into letting some kook blow you, like, just the same, I guess. To me, it's sort of like if you were overseas, because I've talked to dudes about this too, and there'll be like, you'll be someplace and there'll be some lady boy, and you're shit housed at 3 a.m, and some dude will be like, I think I was making out with a dude, and like, why do you think that? Well, it was this hot girl, so you thought you were making out with a hot girl. Well, yeah, okay, well, fair mistake then. You weren't making out with what was maybe a dude. You weren't making out with him because you thought he looked like a dude. You just got trick fucked is all. What are you going to do? I mean, and that sucks. I don't want it to happen to me. I know that. But you can't take the fucking hit on that. You got tricked, right? Just like everybody who gets elected to office here. Like, oh, man, I thought she was 18. Like, yeah, no, surprise, dickhead. Now you're voting for Israel. All right, so I had to step away and jump into the Doomsday studio to go run some errands. So you get to come with. But the last thing that I wanted to hit on, well, I had two things that I wanted to hit on, man. I one, this authorization to use DoD components as an assistant to law enforcement. We'll get to that, and there's some in, some out, some what have you. But the other thing I wanted to get a laugh about first was the Gorilla Harris interview on Fox News. And man, I didn't even know that it happened because I don't pay attention to that kind of shit really, but I was just thumbing through and I saw some of the highlights, and it was, man, what a mess, dude. I'll say this right out of the gate. I'm really not much of a fan of the adversarial interview anyway. And this was on Fox News, and this is, it's a very pro-Trump type tip, and it is what it is, dude, whatever. But just the same, if you're going to go out there and make a showing and you're going to step into one of these things, I mean, try to have your shit in one sock, dude, because this was ugly, dude. This Brett Baer, dude, he asked some of the hard-hitting questions, and in fairness, dude, he did hit some hard questions. So apparently the way this happened was Gorilla Harris rolled in there, and their initial pitch was like, we're going to have about between 20 and 30 minutes, so you could look for probably 20 minutes. They're saying 20 to 30, you're going to look at 20 minutes. And we're supposed to get there at 5, get this thing started. So they roll in, I guess, the way this guy described it, they roll in at like 5:10. And they're talking about like, yeah, we've only got like, 15 minutes, something like this. So already they're trimming this thing down. So they get in there, and I guess the interview only ran like 15 minutes. It was like a 15-minute interview, and she still was an absolute fuck story. And he got in her ass pretty good. And I was kind of like, I'm like, dude, let her step on her own dick, because she'll do it for you. You don't have to give, these lefties any kind of fodder to say, like, oh, look, he's bullying her. But in his own defense, he did say later, like, look, man, I interviewed Barack Obama, and it was the same kind of thing where, like, I ask a question, and this guy will just filibuster for like 10 straight minutes. You try to get a word in, and he's going to be like, no, let me finish. I have something I want to say. And it's their way of just not answering the question. It's just filling the space with words that don't mean anything. So in this case, whenever she started with like, I was raised in a middle-class family, like started with this kind of shit, well, let's talk about Donald Trump. Like he'd give her like, no, now you said, no, let's talk about the policy, your policy, whatever. So, he shut her down pretty good. But, she was a fucking mess, dude. He asked her about immigration, asked her about all this kind of thing, and it was everything that he would ask her, she would roll right back to Donald Trump about, well, yeah, but what about Donald Trump? Well, he did this and that. At one point, the guy even wheeled out a piece of testimony from somebody whose daughter had been raped and murdered by an illegal. And this woman she didn't look that old, and it took me a second to figure out, like, wait, it was her daughter, like, was it her mother or her, what, is she the daughter? No, dude, it was this woman who don't look that old, and her daughter, I don't know how old the daughter was at the time, but apparently a young kid that had been raped and murdered that had been identified as like, this guy needs to be fucking out of here, but under Gorilla Harris's immigration doodad had been allowed to stay. So he says to her, like, point blank, like, do you have any regrets? Like, this woman's daughter is dead. Like, look at her. Do you have any regrets? What would you say to her? What would you say to her about, this is a decision I made? Do I stand by it? Do I not stand by it? Do I regret any of this kind of thing? And her immediate thing was like, yeah, that's very unfortunate. But look, Donald Trump. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? I mean, it doesn't even really give much of lip service. You know, I mean, at least your kid is dead. Your kid is dead because of something somebody else did. And at least you could fucking do is be like, yeah, that's really fucked up. Like, I should have done something different. If I knew that would happen, I would have done it different. There's no way I could have known. Something, man. Offer something. But yeah, that's very unfortunate. Nah, man, very unfortunate is getting a parking ticket. Very unfortunate is like, you know, you get up in the middle of the night and kick the coffee table by accident. That's very unfortunate. Having your kid murdered is not unfortunate. And you know, something about this phrase, unfortunate. The idea of fortune playing a role in this sort of suggests that good luck or bad luck or just random chance had some kind of hand in this. You know, like she would have probably got dead anyway. You know, it was just, you know, whatever, good fortune, bad fortune. That's why things happen the way they did. Dude, this was not fortune. This was a result of your specific decision-making process. So that, I mean, good Lord, dude, could you have shit the bed any harder? So I don't know, you know, you look at some of this stuff that's out there and they're still talking about like, oh, it's, you know, it's neck and neck, you know, this Gorilla Harris, she's got a good fighting chance. Donald Trump's going to really have to fight to keep up and stay in the race. And it's like, dude, how the fuck is this possible? I mean, on one hand, I'll say that like, yeah, there's a lot of stupid people out there, and yeah, there's probably going to be a fuck ton of illegals that vote, and yeah, they're probably going to have this mail-in ballot thing on lock where they got this shit coming in from literally all over the world with, you know, third world sweatshops filling out absentee ballots. But just the same, it's like if you're hearing in the street that like, oh yeah, dude, people love this Gorilla Harris, like, what? How? Who the fuck people are you asking, man? And alls I can think, man, honestly, alls I could think is that, and you know, I don't know, you tell me what you think, but I'm inclined to think that they're going to float it this way because the fix is fucking in. I kind of believe that the fix is in. And yes, Donald Trump is going to give, like has already said very plainly and clearly, like he's going to give these Jews what they want. Like this guy, you know, there was some video the other day of him at one of these schmaltz Shabbats, whatever the fuck, you know, ritual deals where they're stacking rocks or reading tablets or wearing hats or whatever the fuck it is these people do in their spare time. And he's right out there front and center, man. And he's got his AIPAC guy buzzing in his ear talking about, you see, you put the rock there and that symbolizes us crushing the goyim and this kind of shit. So, I mean, for my money, I think the fix is in, and that this is going to be one more way that they can be like, see that, you got shit. We're going to get whoever we want in this thing. The show's over. The party's ended. And I would say that Israel's willingness to just go whole fucking hog right now. War crimes, no war crimes, borders, no borders. I don't give a shit what you see, what you think, how you vote. We're going to do what we want to do. For my money, it's because this whole thing is essentially locked down. You're going to get this absolute moron in office. She's going to do as she's told, and that's going to be the end of the story. Like Zion Dawn, I'm willing to do what you want. We don't want somebody who's willing. We got somebody that's already got no choice in the matter. So that's the direction we're going to go. Apart from that, man, I mean, it is funny, you know, watching the circus collapse. There's that. It does sort of suggest that hard times are ahead, though. And to kind of drive that nail in the coffin all the way home, I got to look at, well, I don't know that it's the entire document, but it's at least the summary of DOD Directive 5240 TAC 1. And what this is saying is that defense intelligence components are going to be authorized to augment law enforcement activities during specified conditions. So essentially what this means is that so again, it is DOD, all right, but it's saying Defense Intelligence. So again, this is not Defense Intelligence Agency. That's a separate product. DOD, Department of Defense, is its own thing, and it falls under its own laws. So, at risk of being lawyer ball guy, because I'm not lawyer ball guy really by a stretch. I believe that these people can do whatever they want to do, but there are a lot of people that will call them on this. And this is something I had noticed about lawyers, is that like right and wrong, or like good and evil, or beneficial or not beneficial, like never enters into the equation with these weirdos. They look at this shit like a Dungeons and Dragons game, and they want to be the one that knows the rules the best, and I'm going to win because I found this one, obscure ruling or this thing or that thing. They really care about this shit. So, they will find a way, if the people at the top, the people with more horsepower want a thing to happen, they'll find a way to make that thing legal. But in the interim, there will be these lawyers that are counting the beans, if you like, and deciding what is or is not okay. So according to this thing then, it's a DOD component, and DOD has to follow DOD rules. So like Iraq, Afghanistan, there was a fuck ton of like no shit laws. Like we brought lawyers on target a few times to like, hey, look, watch what I'm doing. Watch how I'm questioning this guy. Watch how we move through this target, this kind of shit. Here's how we're doing this thing, because they want to see exactly what you're doing, and there might be complaints later. So if you've got a guy watching, he could say, okay, no, that doesn't qualify. Go fuck yourself. So there are a lot of very specific rules. One of those specific rules is that DOD components cannot be used on American citizens on American soil. Okay, so like this John Walker Lynn thing where like Barack Obama is authorizing drone strikes on American citizens in Afghanistan. There's, the fuzzy area of, we couldn't tell, we didn't know for sure. He was obscured by a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity type target, so he wasn't targeted, he was just collateral damage, and so in that sense, it was legal, so it's all this legal wrangling bullshit, right? But what this would say then is that where, according to the law, DOD cannot operate on U.S. soil against U.S. citizens. Same with CIA. They're not supposed to be targeting U.S. citizens. We know that the shit goes on, or we know that there's some cooperative shit going on, but again, letter of the law here. So what this order would do, what this directive would do, is say that, well, no, defense intelligence assets and their components. So this intelligence we're talking about, so there's a phrase, find, fix, finish, exploit, and analyze. So find, fix, finish, this is, like the initial part of, this is a lot of this special operations thing. We find Carlos the Jackal, we figure out where he is, you say finish, you go and target that individual or that location, whatever. You exploit, you're going to take all of the info or the people off target and then analyze, get whatever information you can from it to create follow-on missions, all right? So when you're talking about intelligence, this would be this find and fix piece, right? Where you're figuring out who is doing what kind of thing, where they are, what kind of people they might be connected to, what they might be planning, this kind of thing. So in this sense, what they're basically doing is anybody that we don't like. And they're talking in here, they specify early on in this directive, they're talking about CBR threats, explosive threats. CBR is like chemical, biological, radiological threats, or high explosives type thing, and then it kind of starts to caveat with like, or any kind of situation that involves a lot of violence or could lead to a lot of violence where lethal force would be authorized. And then it goes on to detail further that, and basically anything authorized by a presidential finding. So the presidential finding piece, this is something where you would look at like a tier 1 special operations unit. So like your Delta Force type thing is what people would think of, right? SEAL Team 6, this is what people would think of. And this operates in a legal way separately from other special operations units. This is what they would call a national asset. And this is what would operate, so say, just like the bin Laden thing. Like normally, normal military, you can't just cruise into fucking Pakistan and do what you want, all right? It's a fucking no-no. But what the presidential finding kind of caveat specifies is that when the president looks at it and says, yeah, this right here, this is something I want to happen. Who can I get to go do this? Well, it'll be these units, these assets, all right? So in the case of like an Osama bin Laden and like the conversation of what was or was that guy not involved in or connected to or any of that shit, separate conversation, totally separate. But this incident is where a presidential finding would be like, I want this guy, I know it's in Pakistan, I'm going to authorize this unit to go and do that thing, all right? That's where this kind of legal framework would fall out. The same thing here then, according to this directive, is wherever a president could look and say, even if it's something that doesn't fall within the parameters of a CBR threat or a mass casualty threat or planning as part of a known terrorist organization threat, right? Like my Al-Qaeda is out there planning some kind of shit, which you would think if you gave a fuck about that, then maybe you would care about, you know, persons of interest coming over the border or anybody coming over the border, but you don't care about that. So let's think a little more about what is this targeted towards. Not just these things, but then anytime a president says, yeah, I have an interest in this, this is something I want these defense intelligence assets to go and act on this. And then this document goes on to specify like bunny ears, like and related activities. So like intelligence collection, bunny ears, and related activities. So when we talk about find, fix, finish, well, what good is find and fix if you don't employ the finish, right? You're basically just watching TV. It means nothing. So, okay, we find and fix. What's a related activity? Finish, motherfucker. They're going to go on target and then come and collect you. Now, you could say like, oh no, man, that's just fear mongering. That's like, what's your excuse? They would never do that? Of course they would fucking do that. Like, picture for a moment, dude, like Kamala Harris is in office and President Harris decides that there's a presidential finding that we need to go after someone who's going to do harm to our democracy. Who the fuck do you think she's going to go after? Do you think she's going to be going after the people that she's been literally forcing into the country for the last 3 fucking years? Do you think that's what's going to happen? Or do you think that's going to be aimed at somebody else? Who do you think it might be aimed at? Might be aimed at you. So to that end, I guess as my parting shot, I would say, like, man, have your head on a swivel, start cleaning out your closet, dude. If you need to, get on your computer, start scrubbing shit, start putting shit on locked up hard drives, put shit where people aren't going to come in. And because, look, I'm not saying go do crime. I'm not saying you're connected to any crime. I'm not saying go do anything criminal. I'm telling you not to. I'm telling you not to do that shit. What I'm also telling you, though, is that you could be sitting there a perfectly square citizen with the law today, but 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, who the fuck knows? What's 1,000% legal today could be 1,000% illegal tomorrow and have you in the gulag, getting flogged with a fucking garden hose. And nobody needs that, especially if you have right now where you can, unfuck yourself. So apart from that, man, somebody had asked for like, hey man, why don't you put out a drink recipe? You got the little cocktail glass and a logo, but you don't put out drink recipes no more. So, all right, let's put out a drink recipe. Today, I think we can put out, let's do an old fashioned, like a decent old fashioned. So I'll tell you, an old fashioned is originally this was a drink that was made way back in the day because any booze you could get tasted like ass, and the only way you could flavor it was with fruit. So this is kind of what this is based on. But it is a pretty decent drink. It's a respectable drink, and it goes real nice with some decent whiskey. So what you're going to use for this is like 2 shots of your whiskey of choice, your bourbon of choice, whatever the hell you like. I like the rye whiskey. It's a good taste. I think it goes well with this. But you do what you want. Like your bourbon whiskey, that's going to be a little bit sweeter. Your Canadian whiskey, that should be either in the sink or in whatever cabinet you thought of pulling it out of, because I'm not a fan of Canadian whiskey. If you're Canadian, knock yourself out, drink whatever you want, but me, no. So the other thing you're going to need here is some bitters. I prefer the Angostura. It's got a nice flavor. And then some cats like a little sweetener. It depends, man. It depends on the mood. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Me, not usually so much. What you could do then is you're going to put your whiskey and some ice and the bitters into like something to stir it up nice. You could shake it if you want, or you could just stir it. The classic way to do it is the stir. The kind of the newer way that I like, that actually it waters the whiskey down just a little bit more, but it also gets a little more air in there, so it makes for a nice flavor. That's what I like. So you take the bitters, Angostura bitters, and just like chink, 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 like 3 dashes, and that's good. 2 shots of whiskey, the Angostura. Shake that shit up real nice. And now don't use the same ice that you're shaking or stirring with. Strain this shit into a separate glass with separate ice. Ideally, it should be like the big block of ice, because it'll keep it nice and cold, but it won't water down any more than what you've already done. Like you've shaken it and you've watered it down just a little, put it over that big block of ice, and it'll make for like a much more consistent drink. It'll stay consistent like the whole time you're enjoying it. So now you strain it into this glass with a nice big block of ice. And now you're going to add just like one or two, your choice, cherries. Don't get the cheapo, like maraschino cherries from the grocery store. Get the nice, if you go to a liquor store, a lot of places you could find Luxardo cherries, or like these, infused, delicious cherry situation. And it's got like some, I think a lot of times it'll have like some booze in it. And then you just put it, just like ding, just like set it in there. And it'll be real nice. If you prefer, instead of a sweetener, you can take a little bit of that syrup from a good, like a Luxardo cherry, and do that. Don't do like the cheapo, the maraschino thing. It tastes shitty. It's nasty. You could do so much better. And then like the final garnish is like take a peel of orange. So wash the orange off. Get a nice peel that's like still like thick with some juice and this kind of shit. Just the peel, not the whole chunk of orange. That makes it weird. Slice off some of the peel, and then you just like give it a little twist, and some of that oil essence that's on the top of that rind will come out, and it'll do like a nice little film on the top. And now you just kind of wipe that orange peel around the inside rim of the glass, and it'll lend just a nice little orangey, oily flavor to it when you take a sip. Then just drop the orange peel into the drink, and you're ready to go. Kick back, relax, have a nice old-fashioned. Enjoy. So with that, I think that's about as much as I can stand, and I'm sure you've probably had your fill as well. Next time, I don't know what we'll talk about, man, but I'll try to not wait as long to get this thing out there. But until then, leave this where somebody can find it, man, because the world needs more people like us. And until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon. Keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee, and these are my takes.